Hello YouTube, my name is Jack, welcome back to Barnyard Wargaming, and today I'm going to discuss with you my tactics for Daemons. If you haven't been here before, who am I? Well, my name is Jack, and I play a lot of Daemons. We do 3 streams a week. My main armies are Eldar, Daemons, and Tyranids, and I've been playing a lot of Daemons in 10th edition. In 2023, I hit up 10 tournaments. I had a 73% win rate with Daemons, despite them not being the greatest faction in the game at the moment. So today I'm going to discuss with you my little list here, the tactics that I use, and how I would win a tournament with Daemons if you are trying to do so. So here we have the Daemons. They are not in a particularly great spot at the moment. Their rules are a little bit bland, they don't have a huge amount of synergies, and they don't have an army rule. And that is because they had an army rule for that 6-inch deep strike and also the shadow, and it kind of was split into 2 rules with different names, but really it's the one army rule, which kind of makes them a little bit stale, not too much going on. Now, I like to play a mix of Khorne and Nurgle. I think Khorne and Nurgle actually gives the best rapport with each other. They have the most synergies that you can take advantage of in the middle of a game. Slaanesh at the moment is a little bit too expensive as of recording this video, and Tzeentch just doesn't have the damage output. The pink horrors are a little bit resilient, but in top play, in competitive play, people really know how to get rid of pink horrors. If you're unaware, you can just one-shot a whole unit of pink horrors before they split, because splitting only happens if the unit survives. And 10 wounds with a 4-up invulnerable save at toughness like 3, it's not really that hard to get through. So Tzeentch, not doing so hot. Lords of Change are okay. Slaanesh, too expensive. Khorne and Nurgle, however, is where it is at. Look, we have some new artwork going up in the studio. Thank you, Adela. Nice little barnyard. It kind of looks like a kid's playroom in here for the moment, but we're going to be changing that and adding some extra details to it. Anyway, back to the Khorne and Nurgle. So why do I run Khorne and Nurgle? Well, it is a little bit of a thematic reason. I think that if you wanted to chuck in some additional units that were Slaanesh or a Tzeentch unit here and there, like the Changeling, then they could synergize with the rest of the army just fine as well. But I like to keep mine green and red, you know, just why not? It's a bit of synergy, and so I restrict myself in that regard just a little bit more. If you want to play just competitively, and that is your main goal, then maybe look into a few extra units. But here is my list. So the main constituent parts of this list are over this side. I have the Great and Clean one with the Endless Gift. I have been toying around with changing the additional arm that he has from the Bile Blade to the Flail. I think that the Flail has done me really well. The Bile Blade is good because if people try and charge him and bog him down, he gets 3 additional attacks. So I think that might be a better option. The sword is absolutely mandatory. You need the sword. Rodus is fantastic as well, and these two combo together beautifully. I will get to all of the different abilities and stuff at the end, but he is basically a resilient force that I put in the middle of the table. I always start him on the board and I run him up into the middle so that someone will try and fight him. He has taken a bit of a nerf with the changes to objectives being taken every single phase, because you used to be able to sticky the middle one to give you shadow and he would get 4-up Feel No Pain. Now it's a bit more difficult, but I still think that he is a really powerful unit that you need to keep in your army. At 260 points, he's an auto include. Rodus for me, also an auto include. All of these things over the side, basically it's mandatory to have all of these units. Rodus is probably one of the best units in the entire codex. He's 230 points. He gives +1 damage to Nurgle units. He has a great flamer. He's really hard to kill. If you make your 4-ups, he's insane. You can keep him next to the Great and Clean one for a 6-up Feel No Pain. He is just brutal. You must include him. My last big boy is Skarbrand. Like, he is cool, but he does have some functionality. He gives +1 attack to all Khorne units other than monsters and vehicles and stuff, so not himself, but he does give it to chariots, and he also gives it, of course, to bloodletters. And a lot of the time, I don't really use him for his damage. I use him to deep strike 3 inches behind a wall, and then I just use the +1 attack with the bloodletters to really buff them up. And then in the next turn, there is a massive looming threat of Skarbrand sitting behind a wall, and if people try and fight you, well, he'll just move 8 inches around the wall and then completely one-shot them. You can get this lovely chap up to 10 attacks at flat 7 damage thanks to the Rendmaster. Yeah, he is brutal. 100% take him over Bellor. Why do I not include Bellor? Well, Bellor is trash. He is one of the worst units in the entire book. Honestly, if he went down 100 points, I'd consider taking him. But at the moment, he's terrible. He's really just not good. He has 6 attacks. He doesn't get any rerolls, so most likely you're gonna roll a 1 to hit or a 1 to wound or multiple ones. He doesn't ignore invulnerable saves anymore like he used to. He gives shadow, but 350 points for a toughness 10, 4-up invulnerable save monster is just not good enough. People are not really phased by the 18-inch bubble of shadow, and the other 2 abilities are kind of useless. Most armies in the game will be able to screen you, they'll be able to block you so that you can't get your shadow in and make use of it in the game. And also the 18-inch bubble, most people will just move into that, shoot you, you die, great 350 point monster, gone, it's a waste, and he doesn't even kill anything. He has at most 12 damage from shooting. It's really just not good. 350 points is way too much to play for a demon with honestly not very much synergy in your list and no damage. He doesn't give any damage. At least Scarbrand, he would give 10 attacks at flat 7 damage. That's a lot. Or he can have 17, 18 attacks or whatever it is at flat 3 damage on the sweep and synergizes with the rest of the army to give +1 attack. Way better. Moving on to auto includes, the Rendmaster absolutely is necessary. A lot of people have been running Rendmasters lately. 150 points for a toughness 9 wound, non-vehicle, non-monster is fantastic. And giving +1 AP strength and damage to any Khorne units that attack one unit is unbelievable. I know people are running multiple of him. I personally would not. 150 points is still a price to pay. I'd rather spend that on units that are actually going to hold objectives and can deal some damage. Not saying that he can't, he's still really good, but against something like a tough vehicle, you're going to struggle because it's not a monster and it's not a character, so he doesn't get reroll wounds. I just don't think that more than 1 is necessary, and so I only run 1. Run a single Skull Cannon. Skull Cannon's honestly underrated. 105 points, exactly the same durability as the Rendmaster, and he can hold a backfield. He has a little bit of shooting. It's not the greatest, but it is what it is, and a little bit of melee, but his best ability is he can battle shock a unit. Now, if you get a unit into shadow for -1 to their battle shock tests, and then you shoot him with a Skull Cannon, all you need to do is hit, and then they take a test at -1. If they fail, you then open yourself up to the stratagem Draft of Terror that allows you to increase your AP by 1, and also you get reroll all wounds. For something like Plague Bearers or Bloodletters, who are not very strong, that would be brutal. So watch out for that. Take it down to this unit of Bloodletters. I think these guys are absolutely essential. 1 unit of Bloodletters, at least with Skull Taker, is perfect. They get a 5-inch charge off of Deep Strike if you are playing Shadow really well, which basically every single game will get off without fail. I don't think that there is much of a world in which you would be deep striking 8 inches away. Sometimes it does happen against really tough matchups, but most of the time you get a 5-inch charge. And these guys, with +1 attack from Scarbrand, and also +1 strength, AP, and damage from this guy, and you can combo it with -1 toughness from the Great Unclean One, they can be strength 6 against an enemy that is -1 toughness. You can pay for a CP for +1 AP, and if you battle shock a unit, you can reroll all your wound rolls, and Skull Taker rerolls all hits and wounds himself against character units. When you are punching with that much damage, these guys are gonna get 30 attacks, irrespective of his additional 7, strength 6, -3 AP, up to -4 AP, with devastating wounds from Skull Taker, potentially rerolling all wounds, and definitely rerolling wounds of 1 from their ability as well. They absolutely slap. I've seen them kill 10 Terminators and a Batten in 1 single shot pretty easily. They will get through anything. The essential unit that I like to take is Epidemius with 10 Plague Bearers. Epidemius gives them a 4+ invulnerable save. That makes them really, really resilient. And also you combo this with the 6-up Feel No Pain from the Great Unclean One. That means that they will hold mid-board, they get the 6-up Feel No Pain to offset the 2 damage attacks, and they are toughness 5. with a 4-up invuln and a 6-up feel no pain, they are pretty brutal. Not to mention Epidemius gets d6 plus 3 attacks, strength 5 minus 2, 2 damage. You can combo that with Rodus for plus 1 damage, and the flies, who we'll talk about in a second, they give you reroll wound rolls for all Nurgle units after they shoot a unit. So these guys can have 2 attacks each, strength 3, lethal hits, plus 1 damage, rerolling all wounds. It is brutal. I mean, Epidemius alone is a powerhouse. He's like a mini Demon Prince in melee. And not to mention, you have the additional ability from Epidemius, where you can get plus every model you kill with Nurgle models, you get a tally, and if you make it to 7, then you get a command point in your command phase, in your next command phase, which is great because it allows you to take fixed secondaries sometimes and still come out on top. Not to mention as well, Skull Taker, whenever he kills a character unit, you get your additional CP from him as well. So these two characters together allow you to generate CP outside of the normal, and they are just great at holding midboard, and these guys are great at getting rid of threats. Last essential unit is these Plague Drones. The drones I auto-include. They are fantastic, and the reason I like to run Corner Nurgle mainly is because Nurgle is the side of my army that holds the midboard. They hold the table, while the Khorne side, goes into Deep Strike, and then they come out and they get rid of one problem at a time and keep the Nurgle side alive. So why do I include the drones? Well, they're toughness 8, 5 wounds apiece, so you can give them 6-up feel no pain with him, and also they are just brutal. Like, they have decent punch in melee. They're not like the most punchy unit ever, but it's not nothing. And they also give reroll all wounds in both the shooting and the fight phase for the rest of your turn to Nurgle models against a specific unit. Unfortunately, they are blast, which means that if they get bogged in combat, you can't really use them. However, when you can reroll wounds for something like these flamers, 2d6 flames, strength 7 minus 2, 1 damage, devastating wounds, and his flamer as well, and if you want to run the flail, it's even better. Lots of flamers coming out can actually deal some real damage with these, plus you get the reroll wounds on some units like these guys, or reroll wounds for Rodus and the Great and Clean One, who are only strength 8. Yes, this sword is strength 8, this tree branch is strength 8, GW, why? Doesn't make sense, but when you can reroll all wounds with this guy and this guy, man, they hit hard. This alone has 7 attacks at flat 4 damage with his buff, and can reroll all wounds with lethal hits at AP 3, and you can buff him up to AP 4. He is brutal. Or 14 attacks with a sweep. He is disgusting. Now that's the main constituents of my list. After this, I'm not really too sure where to go. I'm kind of messing around with a few different things, a few changes, so we'll chat about that in a second, but that is the core of my list. I don't think that should change at all. That is perfect, and if you want to run it yourself, please go out, do so, report back to me. That is the strongest combo in the Demons Codex by far. You can reduce toughness, you can reroll a bunch of wounds, you get battle shock tests, you get a bunch of extra damage from both the Khorne and the Nurgle side, you get units that hold the midboard, and you get problem-solving units that can come out of Deep Strike, reroll their charge if needed, and they can just get in and delete individual units. It's fantastic. Here are some options for you as to what else you can take in your list. So what I like to take is, what I've been doing recently is running an additional unit of 10 Bloodletters with a Blood Master. These guys combo even better with the Great and Clean One, because the Great and Clean One can reduce toughness by 1, and these guys get +1 to wound and can also consolidate 6 inches. So with the Blood Master, if you, for example, want to take down a Knight, which is something that doesn't have invulnerable saves in melee, but you have high AP on your weapons, these guys are normally only strength 5, and Knight is toughness 12. If you reduce the Knight's toughness with the Great and Clean One to 11, and then you buff these guys to strength 6 with the Rend Master coming out of Deep Strike, and then you get +1 to wound with the Blood Master here. Strength 6 against toughness 11 is normally 5s. You can get it down to 4s, re-rolling the 1s as well. And these guys can get up to AP 4 with the Stratagem Draft of Terror as well. They would cleave through a Knight pretty easily with flat 3 damage. So I've been toying around with them. I think they're a good combo. And you can actually also include another unit of 10 Plague Bearers. Now, up to you, your choice. I've been running a little bit of either or, so the Scrivener or the Poxbringer. The Scrivener gives the unit OC +1, so OC 32, with the Scrivener and also gives them sustained hits. So it is pretty brutal. They can deal a fair amount of damage, or you can deep strike them 3 away and then just hold an objective really well. But the Poxbringer also, lots of good success here. He makes units within 6 inches -1 to their battle shock. Now when you combo that with Shadow and then you shoot them with a skull cannon at -2, often it does make the difference. Plus, the Poxbringer has a 5 at Film No Pain, he's slightly more resilient than the Scrivener, and he is also a powerhouse in melee. With +1 damage and rerolling all wounds, he can really hit something quite hard. He's flat 3 damage as well. So I do like either of these options. Personally, I think I'd go with the Poxbringer over the Scrivener, but you can decide yourself. And this also allows you to run 2 units of Nurglings. Nurglings are great for actions, they're great for screening, and they're great against armies like World Eaters or Black Templars, where you want something like your Great Unclean One to be -1 to hit in melee. Sometimes I hide one of these units just behind a wall, and then if the Great Unclean One is charged, then everything hitting the Great Unclean One is -1 to hit, and it makes that added extra layer of resilience really annoying to deal with. So toy around with that, I think that's a good combo. However, what I was running before I swapped over to this little combo is I was running the Snail Slimix with 2 beasts. Now, this is a really expensive unit. This is the same cost as the Great Unclean One with the 30-point relic. So this is a very expensive unit. Now, if you can play these right, I think they are very, very good. You can put them in a corner. They are really, really hard to get rid of because they continually heal if you don't kill them in a phase. And they're toughness 9, which makes them really annoying. Just very, very annoying to deal with. The only problem is that they only have a 5-up invulnerable save, so against top players, they would know how to get rid of them, and that makes the unit much less survivable. But you can use some sneaky tricks with the Snail to make a terrain feature Shadow, which means that in the next turn when you come down with something, for example Bloodletters, they can hide within that terrain feature and get off an easier charge instead of trying to hold the objectives to get Shadow in the midboard. It's really sneaky, and I have used it before to some good effect, but it is much harder to pull off. Melee, these guys only hit on 4s, but wow, if you can roll your hit rolls, they will pop off. Rerolling all wounds from something like the Flies, and then +1 damage from Rodus as well. That means that the beasts themselves get 12 attacks at 3 flat damage and rerolling all wounds with devastating wounds. It is brutal. And then the Snail as well gets 6 attacks at flat 4 damage, which 2 of them hit on 4s with devastating wounds, and the other 4 hit on 3s with lethals as well, and high AP. I mean, this unit can absolutely delete something if you need them to, and you buff them up in the right way, but they are so expensive. If I'm going to include this unit, I would probably look for something else to include. You could include that unit and then a unit of Plague Bearers with one of these characters, up to your choice, but then you wouldn't get either of these Nurglings, and you also would lose a unit of Bloodletters. So at the moment, I think that these 4 units are much better than running the Snail unit, just because the Snails are a little bit on the expensive side. But if you want to run the Snails, absolutely be my guest. I've done that. I've played many tournaments with the Snails, and I've seen them do really well. I've literally had them one-shot a knight from full health, which was hilarious. And yeah, they can really hit hard. I mean, even when you combo it with -1 toughness, these guys are strength 6, so against like a knight that's 12, you can reduce it down to 11, you can reroll all your wound rolls, you can give them an extra AP. They absolutely do slap. But these guys are a little bit more survivable because they have more bodies, they have more OC, they're just easier to work with, and then you get some action monkeys to do your objectives as well. So let me know what you think. That is kind of my little guide on Demons and how I've been playing them recently. As a little update for the channel, recently we have been struck by lightning a 3rd time. I'm trying to resolve the issue, but naturally the internet modem has been struck by lightning again. It's impossible to use a surge protector on it because the power comes straight down a phone line, which has been very annoying. So you're going to get some videos from the channel instead, hence this video today. But if you've enjoyed this, hopefully that this helps all the Demon players out there with some tactics. If you want to see more, you can go check out some live streams that we have done. And if you have any more questions, leave them down below. Demon players, feel free. Love to help the community. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, do all the fun things down below. And if you really enjoyed it, become a member. That's only $4 Australian a month. And it really, really does help us out, especially fixing internet problems. The Discord below is also entirely free. You can go join that and ask as many questions as you want there. Happy to answer any and all questions. So go do that. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.